chaos has entered the scene and we no longer have a baseline of reality anymore. What we have is a baseline of your truth. And that is a very subjective reality.
Soad, welcome to the show.
Hi, Aaron. Thank you.
Yes, my first and most important question is, how are you doing? Like, for real, how are you doing?
I actually appreciate that question because as a therapist, I don't get that often. Um, and I'm doing well. I have zero complaints in life. I honestly, when people do ask me that, seldomly, I cannot ever think of something bad to say, like, oh, this isn't going well for me, or that's not going well for me. I am doing great. Life is good. God is great. I'm blessed. So, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, like I said before we hit record, like I've never had it so good, which is a strange feeling. Um, you know, we're recording this 3 days after, my sister's anniversary of her passing, but it's still I still feel like just sort of, I don't know, I have a hard time using the word grateful because of what happened. But if I like separate the two of like, okay, my sister's passing was one thing, but my life now that I have health and happiness and a wife and a child on the way, that I'm grateful for. So in my brain, I have to sort of contextualize the difference because it would feel strange to be grateful for the passing of someone that you love, but it could sort of result in a deeper understanding about life and how precious it is, and things of that nature. So I've been thinking a lot about that, and because my son will be born, and I wish that she could meet my son. I think about sort of
Yeah.
mutual emotions and how they can exist at the same time, and sort of that tug of war maybe that it's causing in me. But all of that stuff sort of wrapped up in how I'm doing. But yeah, I mean, if you have anything to say off that, I also have some questions.
I do have to just commend you because there are so many that I do work with who have lost loved ones, and it is very difficult for them to kind of recenter and refocus their life towards a different path that they kind of envisioned with the loved one in their life. And it's hard. It's a struggle to kind of go, this is what my life looks like now, and being able to just accept that. So it's amazing to see that you were actually so quickly able to kind of be able to say, you know what, this is the cards that were dealt, and I have to realign and readjust. And since you have, the amount of blessings that have come your way, that's incredible. You're a testament to many people. So bravo, bravo.
Mm. Well, I'm going to try to receive the compliment. I'm going to try my best. But I'll say, I mean, I don't think I'm special by any means, but I do give credit to two things: my parents and sports. That's what I give credit to.
Tell me about the
Um,
sports. How some sports? Because I've never heard that before. Why
oh
sports?
man, sports, they absolutely changed me fundamentally as a human being. Because I played baseball. That was my sport of choosing. And baseball, they say baseball is a game of failure. I don't love that word because I don't think you're really failing, but we don't have to get into semantics of that word.
Mhm.
But let's say if you're a hitter, right? You're on the offensive side of the ball. You do really, really well if you get a hit 3 out of 10 times, which means you're failing 7 times out of 10, which is a lot, which in like
Mhm.
any other domain of life, you'd be fired from your job. Maybe not sales. 30% is pretty good in sales, but like almost everywhere else, you'd be fired from your job. And so that's how I learned to just pick myself back up. Like, it's going to be okay. Like all of these sorts of things. I
Mhm.
didn't like know that I learned these lessons playing baseball, but like when something catastrophic happens, you're like, okay, what evidence do I have around me that do have the ability to pick myself up from this? And then I'm like, oh, I did it in sports my whole life, whether it was a bad team or a bad game or a bad month, or something happened. It's like, oh, I just always got back up, and I never like died because of it, and I was always okay. And then just having supportive parents, the best parents in the world, who said, supported me through almost everything. Those two things combined, I feel like allowed me to navigate that challenge better than some, I guess. I don't know.
Incredible. So parents are
Yeah.
still together?
Yeah. Yeah. That's a fucking miracle.
Yeah, and it makes such a difference. It makes such a
Yeah.
difference. So,
Yeah.
blessed. You are blessed, sir.
I am
Mm,
blessed. Yeah.
yeah.
Very much so. Okay, this is supposed to be about you and your knowledge, but you use your therapy
I
wizardry on
can't
me
help it.
already.
I can't help it. Sorry.
Yeah, sure, you're just like a magician over here. Anyways, all right. So when I think about mental health, I think about it in a lot of different ways. I've changed a lot of the things I think about over the last 7 years because of my sister, but I want to sort of have a foundational sort of starting point for this conversation, which would be when you look at the current state of mental health, what things come to your mind?
Ah, right off the bat, the first word that came to mind is chaos. Um, I think right now we have developed a system that has created such chaos within this industry. And what I mean by that is I don't think we have a good definition of what mental illness is. I
Mm,
don't think that the professionals are actual professionals. I don't think that the metrics that we use in order to determine mental illness are there. I think that they're non-existent. And I think that feelings have taken over this industry. And as many of us know, feelings are fleeting. They come and go. They're very fluid. And so it's very dangerous to have a whole system based on something that is not built on solid foundation. And I think that these kinds of things have created this industry to be very chaotic. And for someone who works in the industry, it's you feel very alone and up to your own skill set to kind of determine how I'm going to approach each client and how I'm going to approach each illness or sickness or problem that's presented to me with solid facts, with evidence, with proof, because so much of it isn't. So much of it is about, well, my experience and your truth and my truth. And that doesn't help me in the therapy room with my clients. So it's truly chaotic right now. And I really hope that we can change that landscape.
mm. Yeah. Do you have a distinction between like general mental health and mental illness? Are those like two different buckets, or are those two different phrases that we should think about? Or is that sort of all in the same sort of realm?
Great question. I think that we really need to separate the two. What happened, I believe, is that we really tried to take away the stigma of mental illness. And because we did that, the pendulum swings. We went way over to the other side and we determined that now it's going to be mental health and we're not an illness population anymore. And so that kind of also created some chaos. Well, it's like, okay, well, if it's healthy, then is it okay that I have schizophrenia? If it's healthy, is it okay that I'm a pedophile? If it's healthy, it's just very muddy waters. So I would like to see an actual distinction between mental illness and what mental health is. And mental health to me is just wellness. It's how do I keep my mind happy and sane and safe and content. Mental illness, I believe, is more something that should, it isn't right now, that should be able to be measured by some kind of biomarkers, some empirical evidence of some sort where we actually take science and go, okay, what does it look like in a person's brain who has schizophrenia versus someone who just feels depressed? Are there differences? And do we then approach these differences with different kind of treatments, maybe medication, maybe not? So I really do want to split the two, and I'm really trying hard to, even in my own language, to start using mental illness more versus mental health, because when I talk about mental health, I'm talking about mindfulness, deep breathing, um, exercising. That's what I'm talking about, taking care of your mind. I'm not talking about the sick individual who is struggling truly with some kind of illness of some sort.
Mm. Yeah, there has to be a difference
Mhm.
because, like in the sports world, we say, because mental performance in the sports world is extremely important. If you don't have your mindset right, it doesn't matter how talented you are, you're going to get beat by the next guy. And so we talk about like mental fitness. Like, what are we doing every day to just work on our mind in terms of so we can get into that pressure filled moment, we feel relaxed, we feel calm, we feel confident. These same skills can be applied to every person on the planet. The seventh grader who gets a little nervous before his test. All right, what sort of deep breath can you take right before you sit down out of your chair? What can you say to yourself in that moment? Oh, I studied for this test. I feel pretty good right now. Great. Let's fucking rock and roll. That stuff to me is just like your general everyday stuff. How does a ninth grader deal with the first time they get their heart broken? That's normal. Okay. How do we deal with that's a little mental health, a little this, a little that, a little overwhelmed. You feel a little rejected. Great. Let's deal with that's good. But then mental illness is fucking for real, man. My sister was sick. She was like sick, like bipolar disorder, severe depression, schizophrenia. Those are illnesses. And they're not just like, oh, you're like a little crazy because you have bipolar disorder. It'll be no, fucking no. It's not how it works. And so there has to be a distinction because our language is extremely important. And then how you talk to yourself about that illness can be also extremely important. So I think, yeah, we have to, there has to be like this large rebrand of mental health, I think. And that's what you're
And
talking about when you post, at least on your X account, from what I've seen, like mental health reform. And I think that's exactly what needs to happen because people need to understand what sort of bucket they're in. And then how do we attack each one? Okay, I'm feeling today like I just got a lot on my plate. All right, you're not that's not depression. Like that's just like a lot of stuff on your plate. Like there has to be some distinction. I like when Dr. Jordan Peterson says basically like you're not depressed, your life just sucks. Like that's a big distinction.
yes.
Like you have no friends, you haven't had sex your whole life, you really want to be attracted to a female but you're not attracted or you're not attractive. It's like, okay, what can we do? Well, we got to get personal hygiene. We got to go to the gym. We got to like get our shit together. We got to move out of our fucking mom's house. Okay, now, but I'm depressed. So like nothing's happened. My life's pretty good, but I just like feel really somber. It's hard for me to get out of bed like a lot. Like it's been 3 or 4 weeks and I'm just like not. All right, those are signs. Those are symptoms. Those are real things. And sorry to go on this like long tangent,
No,
obviously, but
you're
but like this is what I'm
100%.
thinking about at least.
And you hit it on the nail. Many times in my sessions with clients, I do I do hear a lot of, "Oh, I was anxious today, and that kind of scared me, and I've been anxious for the last 3 days, and it's just, I haven't been sleeping." And my first question is, "So, what's going on? What's situational right now?" "Oh, I've got this huge final coming up." Then that's normal. Of course you're gonna be anxious. Like, let's not make it this illness that you have. Like, you have a very normal reaction to something that's happening. And getting them to kind of get like, "Oh, I'm allowed to be anxious. Like, I don't need meds. I don't need a diagnosis. This is okay." It's very strange to me that I have to calm them down to the point, like, you're not a DSMable person right now. Like, I'm not diagnosing you with anything. You have something that's very situational that's going on, and it sucks, and we have to let it suck. Like, that's not a big deal. But they're not taught that. In society right now, if you show any signs of distress in any which way, "Oh my god, your mental health is under distress, like, you have an issue, something's going on." It's like, stop saying that to these kids, stop saying that to adults. That's not what they need right now. They need to know that they can pull themselves up by the bootstraps and they can make it. It's totally okay. We're not doing that.
Yeah.
We're not doing that. So, no, good for you. Your rant was perfect. I'm here for it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's basically why I have a podcast is just so I could ramble
Freaking
and
love it.
talk about nonsense. But no, like cuz I'm around young people a lot cuz I coach baseball now. And so I'm around like 15, 16, 17-year-old boys and you can totally see the difference in terms of like one that's like super resilient. Their parents have like really made it like a point to like teach them some sort of skills about recovery and resiliency and not quitting and not giving up on stuff. And then you see the total other end of the spectrum of like serious entitlement. If I'm not given everything, then I'm going to quit the team and I'm going to walk away right away. It's like very, very, very interesting. There's not really a lot of middle ground. I
Yeah,
don't see like kids who sort of toe the line. There's either
no.
like, I didn't play the first game of the season, so now I'm quitting the team. I didn't play the first game of the season. I'm going to start working harder, ask coach, talk about certain things, and I'm going to work my way into a spot.
I
So
was
it's
gonna
like
ask, I was like, what is the distinction? Like, what do you actually see between the one who has the resilience and is able to go, "Okay, no big deal," versus the other kid?
parents,
Got it.
all parents. And because this summer, I'll give you a very good example. This summer, 17-year-olds, all of them are very good baseball players. So it's a very elite team. All of them have a chance to play college baseball. So this is like a really important summer. And at the start of the summer, we had 21 baseball players. And by the end of the summer, on our last tournament, we had 10, which means 11 baseball players quit on something that they thought they wanted to do, something that was really important to them. And it's not cheap to play on the team. It's $3,000 a player. If you quit, you don't get your money back. Like it's like,
Oh,
very serious.
mhm.
And so it's all coming from the parents saying, like, no, you deserve better. Coach doesn't like you. We got to quit the team. We can find something different. Instead of saying, okay, you didn't play the first couple games. What are things that maybe you're lacking? Did you talk to your coach? Did you ask him certain questions? Did you get feedback about what he saw? Were you active on the bench? Were you a good teammate? Were you being like into the game? No, we're just going to leave the team or we're going to go. And that teaches the kid like straight up, okay, I can just leave anything that's hard. And that's not the kid's fault. He doesn't know any better. He's a fucking kid. He's still 17,
Right.
right? He's not going to make the decision on his own to say, no, dad, I have to stay on this team. He might, right? But it's very rare that that would happen. And so it's
Right.
all learned from the parents. And then,
Okay.
other mentors and male role models could influence that in a certain way. But it's all about what they say to them on the car ride home and what they've been saying to them on the car ride home since they were 12.
Yeah, I was just
And
gonna
it's
say
very, very
17 is
important.
a later age, so they've been getting that probably since 9 all the way up till 17, and so giving up is probably for them a great habit, like, "Oh, that's what we do, we just stop.
Hmm.
I didn't get what I
Yep.
want."
Yep. It's very interesting.
Yeah. It's
Very
amazing
interesting.
too because we have this whole new generation of I'm generation X, my generation included, where we really are being extra soft on our kids, where I guess we looked at our parents and thought they were really harsh on us. We were all latchkey kids. We played outside until, it got dark. That's when we came in. We never had the doors locked. So I think that we went from that extreme to I don't want to be like my parents. I'm going to be the opposite. And then now it's just like, well, my kid feels this way and my kid feels that way and they're crying, so they probably want something that I'm not giving them. So let me be a little softer on my approach with them. And what that has done is created these kids who have zero resilience, zero. They don't know how to fight for what they want. They don't know how to stand up for their beliefs. They don't have any courage when it comes to anything because the moment there is some discomfort, like I said earlier, it's like, oh, we get to stop. We get to quit
Mm,
because mom's going to coddle me or dad's going to take care of me. And on top of the fact that most parents aren't still together. Um, Marriage is not important anymore, and the nuclear family is something that is not the norm, and we're not allowed to call it normal anymore. And there's a direct attack on the nuclear family. So we're going to have a huge generation that's going to grow up thinking that they can throw these tantrums and get what they want, and it's going to be rough for them. I'm telling you, really, really rough for them
yeah.
and for
Mm,
us.
yeah. Well, we'll see. We'll see how I do as a parent. I'm going to try my best.
Oh, are you kidding me? You're gonna be amazing. I can already tell.
Yeah,
You're
I
gonna
hope
be
so.
amazing. It's gonna be
Yeah.
great.
I mean, I've got good role models, with my parents, so it's pretty cool.
Right.
But if you right now were in a room with every therapist working with clients in America right now, what sort of tweaks or advice would you like to make to their certain approach that you think they're having that might be misguiding the people that they're working with?
Ah, first one would be gender affirming care. Throw that out the window. That is trash and garbage. Um, w we have been taught the past, I would say now 5 to 6 years, maybe a little bit more, but really heavily the past 5, 6 years that what our clients feel is what we have to give them. What they say is the rules, and I understand that approach because it's very client centered. It's kind of like, okay, whatever the client brings to the room is what I'm going to provide and what I'm going to treat. But what we've done is, like I said, is we've chaos has entered the scene and we no longer have a baseline of reality anymore. What we have is a baseline of your truth. And that is a very subjective reality. And again, that's frightening because if something is going to be subjective, it's going to be subjective across the board and your truth and their truth and my truth are all going to be realities and somehow we have to figure out what the correct modality is to treat all these realities. That is not working. We cannot keep affirming people in their delusion anymore. So we have to step back and go, okay, what is objective reality? And we have to be able to at least say that biological markers like being male and female are objective realities. We can't keep preaching this idea that no, it's subjective and you can feel whatever sex you want to be. That's wrong and that's false. And so that is the number one area that I would really focus on. Forget about gender affirming care. We got to make sure these people are rooted in reality. Now, when we do that, then we say, hey, I get that you feel this way. What are you going to do to adapt to a world that has this objective reality that's very different than what you feel? Because you're going to have to live in it. So I'm not saying that, you have to stop feeling that. You feel that, fine. But how do you adjust yourself so that you can live in this world that says male is male, female is female? How do you align? How do you adjust? How do you make changes in your life? What do we need to do in order to get you to get that we have to still live in this reality, even though you feel what you feel? I'm not here to change that. But how do we come up with steps? How do we come up with skills for you to stay in this world without looking like a damn lunatic? Because that's what you have to do. We can't adjust the norms or reality for the sake of your feelings. We have almost 8 billion people on this planet. You're telling me that you want us to have 8 billion different feelings and we have to figure all those feelings out and adapt to that? That's impossible. That's impossible. So that's where I would start, and that, my friend, would shatter people's ideologies. It would break them apart because they can't understand that we have to have an objective truth right now. Um, my colleagues have really, I mean, they're delusional themselves these days. It's really hard for me to get through to them at this point because they're digging their heels in so hard and so tight because they cannot admit to themselves that for the past however many years they were wrong about something. That realization for them would really mess up ideology and worldviews. And I don't necessarily think a lot of people are prepared for that or humble enough for that kind of
Mm.
approach to kind of be able to step back and say, I was wrong. I really hurt some people and I need to step back and take a good look at myself right now. There was this whole push. I don't know if you saw it or not. It was like a year or 2 ago. It's not so much now, thank God. It's still kind of there, it lurks, but there was this whole push on X where people were coming against therapists, were coming against cognitive behavioral therapy, just coming down on it and saying how horrible it is. Why do we even practice it? It's one of the worst modalities, even though it's one of the most tested, one of the most that has the most evidence-based and proven theories. And the reason why they were coming down against it is because it was based on reality. You had to look at life and you had to be able to say, what's the reality and what's my interpretation of the reality? And people were just, they hated it because that whole gender affirming care was really coming onto the scene. And people are noticing, okay, well, I practice CBT, which is based on reality, but I also believe in gender affirming care. So all of a sudden, CBT is horrible. We can't do that anymore. We gotta do something that's a little more aloof. I don't know, some more psychodynamic in nature or something, or psychoanalytical in nature. So people were really coming down on CBT, and my push was obviously, no, you guys are insane. This is based on reality. We have to stick with it, but they hated it. And now it's not even talked about anymore. They don't even when you go into trainings and conferences, it's almost like there's zero CBT, any kind of courses whatsoever, because hush, hush, we can't base things on what reality is. It's nuts. It's absolutely nuts.
Yeah. It's very interesting to sort of see this whole arc. Because I really started thinking about mental health in like 2018. And so to sort of see it shift, maybe it already shifted at that point.
Hmm.
Um, but really when this like, trans gender affirming care started really becoming super popular, I think that's when a lot of, at least in the way I saw things, really started to shift.
Yeah.
Was it before 2018 that in your profession you saw a shift where maybe you felt out of place for speaking about these things, or maybe you got, people looked at you weird or didn't want to be friends with you anymore? You saw just a shift in the culture. Was there a moment for that for you, or just sort of a
Yes.
gradual change?
It was definitely a moment, and forgive me that I'm gonna get a little political here because it's unfortunate that the 2 have kind of meshed together. But
Right.
the moment that I saw, "Oh, snap, therapy is no longer therapy anymore, therapy is now political," excuse me, is when Trump won the first time. I am and have been an avid Trump supporter. I have voted for him since 2015. So I'm one of the OGs from back in the day. And at the time, I was working, I had my private practice, but I was also working in a hospital, and of all places in the Bay Area, which is heavily liberal. So as I'm sure you know. And so being a Trump supporter, that all already puts an X on your back. But then being a therapist Trump supporter, it was like, who are you? You are from the devil himself. Being in the hospital, I remember the next day when Trump won on a Tuesday, I had to go into work on a Wednesday. I was elated. I was happy. I couldn't stand Hillary. I was praying to God that this woman would not be our president. So of course I was overjoyed. I didn't go into work with pom-poms, but I definitely had a smile on my face, and everyone in the office was so sad, so hurt, so depressed, and I walked in and I said, "Hi." I'm like, "How are you doing?" And like, "Horrible. Life fucking sucks. Can you believe this shit?" And I'm like, "Oh my god." And I remember looking at one in particular, and she's like, "Can you believe that that asshole won?" I was like, "I voted for him. I'm so happy." And I just remember the daggers that came out of that. This is someone that I've worked with for years, someone who I've hung out with, someone who really I was close to, and just looked at me and was like, "You know what? I hope my children are okay because of you." Wow. And it was this cultural shift that I was like, you know me. How do you even say you see my work. You see what I do with patients every single day. And because of who I voted for, all of a sudden all of that gets thrown out, and it's you're going to base everything of my existence on the person that I voted for. And I just was crushed. Like, what are you talking about? And I had to step back and go, what is going on? And I noticed that what was happening is up at the top, the very top, the White House, the administration, are everyone that trickles from up there, whatever you want to call it, the deep state, the Republicans, the Democrats, I don't care. But from the very top, there was this idea that if you voted for Trump, you have no morals. There is
Right.
something morally wrong with you. And because of that language and that messaging that not only came from there, but came from the media, that came into the therapy room. Something is wrong with the people that voted for Trump. Something is mentally wrong with these individuals, and they need help. They need reprogramming. So that's where I really started seeing the shift in therapy. And then came the gender affirming care stuff after that. So it was already softened. It was already getting mushy. Like, wait a minute, people who voted conservatively have something wrong with them. They're mentally ill. They're not okay. We have to take care of these people. We have to reprogram them, send them to concentration camps, something. And then when gender affirming care came in, it's like, what do you mean you're not going to agree with affirming? And more conservatives, of course, are like, that's not reality. What are you doing? See, there's something wrong with you. See, there's something morally wrong with you. You're not accepting people. Then right after that came COVID. And then shit hit the fan right there.
Mm.
Once COVID came, then it was a huge cultural battle after that. What do you mean you're anti-vax? I'm like, I'm not anti-vax. I just don't want to put this thing in my body. There's something wrong with you. Now you're killing all of us. Before it was just you're morally wrong, but now you're out to kill me and get me, and you're going to hurt my whole family. And it just became this complete monster that took over in the therapy realm. That if you are now any which way a conservative, you have to be sent to some kind of place to get re educated because you are nothing but a big disinformation, misinformation, xenophobe, Islamophobe, transphobe, whatever the phobes are, and you need to be fixed. Something is wrong with you. And in the meantime, on the other side, we're looking at them going, "Oh, you guys have Trump derangement syndrome. Like, God help us all. Like, this is not okay. This is horrible." So that's how I think it all started. That's and just being a witness to it all myself. It's like, wow, I can't believe this is actually happening. What is this world? What is this world? Um, I do see a shift. I do
Mm,
see us kind of shifting back and not so much to the other side. Like I said earlier, pendulums always swing. I do actually see us kind of getting back to the middle ground. I'm hoping we stay there because we have a tendency to not, to kind of swing over again. But I do see a small shift. I do see a lot of therapists going, "Ugh, maybe we were getting it wrong. Maybe this isn't right. Maybe we do need to rethink this." So I'm hopeful. I'm very hopeful, especially if we do mental health reform. Then, oh my God, I'll be elated.
yeah. It's so interesting to see, like, something like therapy sort of get infiltrated like that, because that's such a sort of personal, very intricate, like, private environment that you'd think would only be something that would be between, like, the professional and the client, and, like, nothing on the outside would sort of deter that environment, because you're just trying to make sure this person is better in whatever regard that is. Maybe they're getting their life together, maybe you're helping sort this out, or maybe they are really severely depressed, or maybe their medication is not working and they've tried all of it and they need to come to you to try to get some life skills. It's like, what else does it, like, why would it matter what else is going on except you and our relationship and how I might be able to help you? That's literally the whole point. Well, I think the whole point of therapy, at least why I would recommend someone going, if like their life can be improved by it, like not if it's going to sort of, I don't know, affirm some sort of delusional sense that they, whatever the case may be. So it seems strange that that kind of very personal exchange would get infiltrated. I understand why something like as public as like a college campus could potentially happen. That's just a public out in the open, easy to like spread ideas through there. But like a one-on-one chamber where no one's watching this therapist, they don't know if no one knows if you're being politically correct or you're saying the fucking right thing, or like no one's canceling you for your sessions. It's private. You're literally just there to help the person next to you. That's it.
Yeah.
And so it just seems interesting to me. I don't know if you feel the same way about that, but
Are you kidding? So one of the main things that happened to a lot of us therapists who voted for Trump is that we immediately started getting attacked first by our colleagues. Then it's family and friends and so forth and so on. But the attacks from our own colleagues was just despicable. So I joined Facebook after Trump won the first time, and the reason why I joined is because I heard that on Facebook there's a lot of therapy groups, and I really wanted to be more involved just with my colleagues, just to kind of feel, because I at that point I left hospital work and I was only in private practice, and I really just kind of I wanted to not feel so alone. Like I need to
mm,
be able to talk to other therapists about their ideas, about maybe a client, consultation kind of stuff, and I heard Facebook was the place for it. So I hop over to Facebook, I join all these groups, and oh my word, it was immediately, I can't stand my Trump client. I'm ready to refer them out. They're so racist, I can't stand them. Someone take this client. If I see another Trump client come in with a MAGA hat on, I'm getting rid of them. It was a constant attack to clients, not only just person like myself, their colleague, but it was actual clients that they were saying these things about. Like, you guys, you're not, what do you mean? What are you even saying? I would never say that about a liberal client of mine. If a liberal client came in and said, I love Hillary, I'm so distraught, I can't believe she lost. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about how we have to deal with the fact that she lost. And what does that mean to you that she lost? And what do you feel like you've lost it that she's I mean, I immediately go into let me take care of this individual. They were the opposite. They wanted to
mm,
have nothing to do with the conservatives, and they were very loud and vocal. And the reason why they were loud and vocal and felt like they could is because, again, it came from the top. People who voted for Trump are morally corrupt. And that's the permission that therapists got. Like, okay, if this person comes into my office, there's something really mentally wrong with them, and I don't want to have anything to do with them. And a lot of the social advocacy work really started around then too with therapists. I've got to help this client. I've got to get them to see that they're wrong for believing these things. Because of that, and I was attacked, I can't keep my mouth shut. I don't know how to not. get into a fight. I'm sorry if you're gonna call me names, we're gonna go to war. Like, there's just no way. I'm not gonna lay there and have you walk all over me. So there are a lot of blanket attacks in these groups. If you're a Trump supporter and you're a therapist, you need to give up your license and you need to basically die. How are you even doing this work? You shouldn't. Something's mentally wrong with you, and I feel so bad for your clients that have you. So of course I go in and I say I am a Trump supporter. I voted for him. I'm very proud of the fact that I did. And I'm gonna really mess with your worldview right now. I'm brown. How does that freaking feel? I'm one of those BIPOCs that you guys talk about. Screw you. So it's like, what are you gonna say? You're gonna call me racist now? You can't, fool. You can't call me racist. I'm just a conservative and I believe in conservative values. And it was just attack after attack after attack. So a few of us decided we have this new group. We have a conservative group for therapists and social workers, basically anyone that's in the mental health field. We created this group on Facebook and basically started going on a rescue rampage. Just went to all these groups, and anytime we saw someone speak conservatively, we'd be like, hey, we have a secret group. You can come hang out with us. We won't hurt you. And that group's gotten bigger now. So we have a big chunk of people. And then from that, I created a directory, conservativecounselors.com. And the reason why I created that is because of the liberal therapist who said, I don't want to see any Trump supporter in my office. And conservatives weren't getting therapy because of that. Not only because of that, but also because they didn't believe in the affirming care stuff. And so they were so afraid to seek a therapist and then have that therapist judge them because they believed in reality. So they wouldn't get treatment. I'm like, well, that's not fair. So I created this directory, and it takes a lot of guts and courage for therapists to be placed on that directory because they have to basically out themselves as a conservative. So there's not a lot, but at least there's a few that are saying, hey, I'm here. If you're afraid, don't worry. You can come to me and I won't indoctrinate you or hurt you or harm you. So that's what I had to do because of these vicious ideologies that my leftist colleagues have. It's
Mm,
horrible. And it's still
yeah.
there. Still there.
Definitely is. Yeah. Yeah, speaking more on the gender affirming care side, like, I got interested in the trans conversation when it spilled over into the sports world because 'cause I'm very obviously
Oh,
passionate about that. And in my head, I'm like, this is like a very I don't understand why this is a conversation. Like, men play with men, women play with women. That's why they've been separated forever. I just don't understand. And so it just was, like, confusing to me how that would be. Like, if you want to transition and you were born a male and you want to transition to a woman, like, all right, that's cool. I like whatever. I'm not going to impede on anything you want to do with your life. But you can't just like then jump in to go and play women's sports. You're a dude. It's like, why is it so complicated? You know what I mean? And so and like I also never understood why women especially were like advocating for this. Like, we're fighting for women's equality in sports with all these sorts of things that are happening, and to get them more pay, and you want more pay, you want equal pay, you want people to watch you, and you want all this stuff, but then you want this 6'3" dude to come fucking be on your team because you think it's equality. Like, it doesn't make sense to me. And so then I started looking into more and more what was happening, and then you find out gender affirming care. And so my question is like, because feelings are important. We want to address them. But how do you think about feelings by maybe not affirming them, by maybe validating them, and then trying to get to some sort of action plan that can help you deal with those feelings? Is that the approach, or how are you thinking about that type of stuff?
well, the first thing I always try to do, because I have had a few gender confused individuals that have come to me, especially the parents of a lot of the kids who are gender confused. And the first thing I do is I look at, okay, how did we get to the confused part? When did that actually happen? And usually, I would say I'm gonna be very generous here. I'm gonna say about 96.9%. I won't say 100%. I'll say 96.9%. There is some kind of sexual misconduct that has happened in the past towards them.
Mm,
Um, and because of that, their confusion happens. And then they start thinking that they maybe might be of the different sex only because that is so shoved down their throat with social media. if there wasn't a social contagion, I don't think we would see the prevalence that we see right now of so many people having this gender confusion. I think because of the contagion and because of TikTok, Instagram, X, so forth and so on, these kids, and then COVID being locked in front of the screen, these kids are like, oh, maybe that's what's wrong with me. So I always look back and go, when was the switch? And then one other thing that I really do is I also look at autism. Is this person perhaps on the spectrum? Because that tends to go hand in hand with people with gender dysphoria of some sort.
Mm.
And again, and that happens a lot because autistic kids already feel left out, and the gender, trans, LGBTQ community is very welcoming to weird individuals. They're like, well, come on in, we'll accept you. And then, hey, did you ever think that maybe you were possibly of a different sex? Maybe you feel uncomfortable because you're actually the wrong body. Um, so that's what I do is I dissect. I go back, dissect the history, look at it and go, could this possibly be? The other thing I do is I really make them focus and see reality. One of the hardest things that I think therapists might have is being very blunt with their clients. I have no problem doing that. So when I have,
I'm
and then
shocked.
you should be, when I have a client who comes and tells me, let's say they're biologically female and they think that they're male, and now they're dating somebody who is female who also thinks that they're male, um, or vice versa, doesn't matter. And I look at them and they're talking about this is my boyfriend. Let's say she's obviously a girl, and she's like, I'm dating a boyfriend, and I immediately my brain kind of goes, what? Okay, hold on. So you have a girlfriend, and they're like, well, no, they identify as a male. It's like, right. Okay. But I mean, can I just give me a second here. You have a vagina and you're dating someone with a vagina. Yes. So have you ever thought about the fact that you're going to have sex with a vagina, not a penis? This is actually a girl with boobs and a vagina. And they hate that. They take a moment and go, "Well," I'm like, "I know you haven't been intimate yet, but do you understand when that time comes, you're gonna have to learn how to go down on a girl. Like, that's what's actually gonna have to happen." And that for them is like, "Okay, you're getting too graphic, that's too much." Like, but that's the reality.
Hmm.
That's what's real. This is not some make-believe fake, "This is, oh, my cute boyfriend. Oh, let's just play this house." Like, that's not what that is. You're saying you care about someone intimately. You're going to have to do some intimate things at some point. And perhaps you're going to be like, wait a minute, I don't actually want to do intimate things with that body part. And that makes sense because maybe it's not natural. Or vice versa. Maybe the person's gay and they're dating a guy who thinks it's a female, and they don't, the person themselves that's dating this person is like, I don't like penises because I've been scarred by a penis when I was growing up. Someone sexually abused me growing up, so I don't like penises. It's like, well, I need you to look at the fact that this person's make believing they're a female. You're going to have to do things at some point with that penis. How does that make you feel? Like, think about that. Not a lot of therapists are willing to go there and be as blunt and be as just clear cut about what it actually looks like if we're looking at the reality of this picture, because it's not this fantasy that you've created, especially like with the furries. What in the actual fuck? I what do you
Yeah.
mean you're a cat? I Can we stop? What are we doing? Bringing in cat litter boxes in the room to appease this
Yeah.
delusion? Stop. And the greatest example I have is I would never tell my client with schizophrenia that their imaginary friend John is actually physically in the room. Like, no, he's not. He's in your
Right.
head. I get that you hear him. Not saying you don't, but I'm not going to pretend John's sitting next to you. That's not
Hmm.
true. He's not there. And so, how do you live in a world that John's in your head and not in the room? What does that look like? How do we adapt to this? And that's the same with the gender affirming care. It's like, okay, you're uncomfortable with the fact that you're a girl. You don't like your body parts. I get it. But
Hmm.
that's what we're living with. That's what we've got. So, how do we get comfortable with that? Maybe you wear a little more boyish clothes. Fine, no big deal. You want to cut your hair like a butch haircut? Go ahead, cut it. No big deal. You want to maybe hang out with the boys more often? Sure, if they want you around, go and do that. But don't have other people call you a boy because that's how you feel. That's delusional. We're not doing that. We have to adapt in ways that we can with the parameters of reality. And that's what we try to teach them in the therapy room as much as we possibly can. Down the line, 25, 26, 27 year olds, you want to go ahead and do these surgeries. That's on you. I have done as much work as I possibly can to help you out, and you still want to do this, fine. But I'm very much against all of that before 25. Very, very much against any of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there has to be what you're talking about. This just extensive, deep conversation about what is actually going on. Like, so, so important. Like, I can't wait for my son to come to me one day and be like, Dad, I think I'm fucking Batman. Fucking sweet, dude. Right? Like, let's do superhero shit. Let's run around the house. Let's save your mom from the bad guys. Let's do all of that stuff. But he knows that we're just having fun. It's just a little
Mhm.
make believe.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if you know what WWE is, but I used to be a professional wrestler like The Rock, Stone Cold Steve Austin, things like that.
Yes.
So my whole life is like being superhero, playing pretend, but I like know what's what's legit and what's not. And I think kids having that sort of imagination is so important. Dude, you can dream the wildest, most coolest, and I'm gonna go with you on it. We're gonna play around the house, we're gonna do all sorts of things. But when it gets down to it, you're gonna know that your name is Asher, you're part of the Mashfords family, you're a boy, you're gonna be very aware of that. And but we can have imagination. That's how we dream. That's how we grow. That's how we think of cool things. But there has to be some sort of line that says, okay, this is like like you're not actually fucking Batman. I'm not gonna, sew some horns on the top of your head and like, but like it's so maybe like to give a very charitable, generous take, we've taken that sort of childlike imagination and just really given it too much credence.
Yes.
And it's gone way too far into the deep end that we're just allowing people to do whatever they want and be whoever they want. And technically they can, but there has to be like a line that says this is where we draw it in the sand. This makes sense. This is you're still a human being in the world.
Yeah.
I don't know if that makes any sense,
Oh
but
my
that's where my
God.
brain went.
And to piggyback off that, because it made very much sense, is that I'm sure there's a part of you that really relies on the outside world to also know the difference between fantasy and reality so that when your kid shows up in class as a young boy, maybe in his Batman, like, I don't know, wings or something like for fun. He's like, Daddy, I want to wear my Batman um outfit to school tomorrow. Sure, son, go ahead. Because there's a part of you that's probably like, I know if he goes to school, my his teacher is gonna understand, oh, he's playing fantasy. No big deal.
Hmm.
Like, okay, we're gonna
Right.
play. But because right now the culture is so like, well, if he thinks he's Batman, then he probably thinks he's a bat. And I'm gonna just affirm that. And we're gonna it's like, wait, I don't necessarily know if I want that. Like I don't trust that these teachers are not gonna placate into this like fantasy world and make it a reality and then confuse my child. Because that's really what's happening is that again, pendulum swinging. Instead of parents being like you, like, I'm so excited, like, let him have this fantasy world. It's like, no, I got to protect this child and not let him talk in fantasy because I don't know what the outside world is going to do. I don't know if they're going to affirm my kid who's just playing around or if they're going to be like me, I'm like, oh, that's so cute. That's adorable. It's a scary place that we're in right now where we have to trust these other adults around our child. It's like, are you going to get that this is fantasy or are you going to affirm that he's actually Batman? Scary. Very scary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That leads me to ask you about a tweet that you recently put out, one that I saw like right before we connected, which was, I can't wait for it to be uncool to be mentally ill again.
Yes.
That was a great tweet. Maybe if you have any backstory on that, or I mean, I know we've been talking a lot about that, but what caused you to maybe put that on X?
Well, because I see it in my therapy practice. Kids, adults, come in, and are just like, "Oh, I think I have this diagnosis." I'm like, "What? What do you mean? What makes you say this?" They self-diagnose themselves with ADHD, autism, on the neurodivergent, which don't even get me started on that word. And it's like, "No, you don't." And they get so, like, disappointed when I'm like, "You don't have a diagnosis." Because for them, it's like this badge of honor to be ill. It's like, "Oh, I've got an illness and maybe I need to go on meds and be one of these cool kids now." And that's where it came from. It's like, I can't wait that it's gonna be uncool to be mentally ill again. Like, I can't wait for the day where it was like in the '80s and '70s when there was an autistic kid, very rare, but when there was, they're like, whereas now it's like, "So what do you got? What about you? What do you have? What was your diagnosis? What did your therapist say that you have?" It's like, "No, I hate that idea." And that's what they're doing. "What meds are you on? How many do you have to take?" "Oh, well, I just got 5150 last week." Like, they talk about it as a badge of honor to be sick. I am sick of that. Like, this is not how it's supposed to be. We can't look at mental illness that way, and we certainly shouldn't look at mental health that way as well. And so that's where that tweet came from. It's like, "God, let it come to that day again where everyone kind of goes, 'Oh, you're sick. I'm so sorry. And so how can I help?' Like, like, this is, should I do this for you? Do you need this from me?" Not like, "So I've got this many diagnoses. How many do you have?" It's so gross and it needs to stop. And I, a part of me, forgive me, part of me does blame a lot of parents because of this.
Mm,
Um, they're tippy-toeing around this topic, and that's causing a lot of anguish and pain for these kids. The parents, it's my message to parents, um, kids look to you to be their foundation. They look to you to know what's right and wrong. They look to you to understand what's reality. Uh, you are their first line of defense with the world. And if you're going to get bullied into submission to believing that subjective truth is truth, we're going to have a world of pain with these kids. A lot of cleanup is going to happen. So please, please understand reality and stick to it. Have courage to stand up to your kids. Don't let your kids bully you. Um,
yeah.
it's not fun.
Yeah. It's like interesting because the line keeps getting farther and farther. Like when I was in middle school, high school, like being gay or lesbian was like a little weird. You sort of got made fun of. I'm glad that's not a thing anymore. I'm
Mhm.
glad people are open about it. It's just like who you want to have sex with. That's like
Right.
sort of a normal, who cares who you have sex with? It's a private thing as long as you're like a good person in the world doing good stuff. But kids always want to have a sense of belonging. And so like when I was in high school, it was like all the WWE wrestling fans would hang out together. There's only like three of us, right? Whatever, you know. But like there
I
was
love
always
it.
like groups of people, and you just found sort of your tribe because you need a sense of belonging. You need a sense of connection. You need to feel like you're not alone in the world. That's like super important. And so I think that also has to do with why like now if you're gay or lesbian, that's not good enough. It's not good enough. You gotta ramp it up one more so I can feel part of the group. If everyone in my friend group thinks they're the opposite sex, I have to do that too, or else I'm gonna get kicked out of the group and I'm gonna have no fucking friends and I'm gonna be lonely. And that's scary for a 14, 13-year-old person to think about. Like, who am I gonna hang out with? I have nobody to Snapchat and I'm on my phone alone, just scrolling all these things all day and I have no friends to talk to. So I'm just gonna be in this group. I'm just going to do it, even though I might not feel this way, but I can force myself to feel this way potentially. And so then what's the next stage after this? Like what's beyond, the trans ideology, which is even scarier to think about if we
Mhm.
if we keep towing that line. And so we have to bring it back at some point and say, okay, like kids need a sense of belonging. What can we give them for that? We can have communities and interests and things they like. And we can go back to the goths hanging out over here and the jocks hanging out over here. Like, yeah, cliques are kind of bad and they're kind of mean to people, but they have some value in terms of sense
Yeah.
of community and like actually having some people to hang out with. And we can maybe promote sports more than we have before because that's a great sense of community and like learning about yourself and like outside of all like what's your sexual orientation and like what's your gender ideology. Those aren't like that's not the thing that's gonna, I don't know, that's just my, again, more
Right.
random thoughts that you've sparked in my brain about that. But
Again, you hit it really well there. It's like, what is the line? And sick as this sounds, the line has been so pushed far back that they're now saying, well, pedophilia is a sexual orientation. And so we have to stop calling them that and call them MAPs, minor attractive persons.
Oh
So it's like,
God.
that's how far we've gotten. And I, as a therapist, am supposed to welcome them into my room and give them comfort and care and support them. It's like, oh, hell to the no. The cops get called. Don't come into my room. Absolutely not. I am not going to affirm that kind of sexual orientation. My commitment is to protecting children first. Absolutely not. But I am going to get totally murdered for saying that because
Mm.
how dare I? How dare I? And that's what keeps happening. And then, God forbid, next thing is bestiality. That's normal. It's totally okay. We're just going to keep pushing it further and further. And having sex with AI robots, totally okay and legit. That's going to be a sexual orientation. That's what happens. And we have to, again, we really need to push parents into going, listen, it starts with you at the home. You have to draw the line somewhere. You have to tell these kids, like, no, male is male, female is female. You may like the opposite sex, fine, but you don't turn into the opposite sex. We don't become the opposite sex. And there are right and wrong when it comes to sexual activity. This is wrong when you do things to children. You don't mess around with animals. You don't do things with robots. It stays within humans. It's things like that that need to be taught at home first, not at school. And I hoping again that we're correcting ourselves. I'm starting to see it, but we really do need to step back and go, what is happening? Holy
Yeah.
smokes!
Yeah. Yeah. Speaking of feelings, we have this saying, well, at least I don't know if it's we. I have this saying that I say to the players that I work with is that it's about confidence, but it relates to feelings. Like you may not always feel confident, but you can always behave
Yeah.
confidently. And I think that goes to what you're saying is like, what are the set of tools and actions and protocols that we can do sort of regardless of how we feel so that we can get ourselves moving, have some forward momentum, have some activation energy so we can start feeling better. We can start being more mentally fit and mentally well. And so I think that's like a really important thing. And then like as we've basically stated the last hour, like in a separate total bucket is your very serious mental illnesses that need to be
Yeah.
treated much differently than I'm feeling like overwhelmed today because I got a lot of shit going on, you know?
Amen. Amen. And I just told a client this the other day. They were talking about something about how they were going through something, and they're like, "It's just not fair." I'm like, "Yeah, life's not fair. Life
Mm.
sucks. It's just not fair. You're absolutely right. And since it's not fair, you're gonna have to learn to adapt. You're gonna have to figure it out because it's so unfair to you right now. And I see it, and I hear it in your voice. I understand it sucks. So what are we gonna do about it?" Because I can't fix the unfair, neither can you, and we can't force anybody else to fix the unfair. That's just what life is. Very unfair. So if you're a girl and you wanted to be a boy, well, that fucking sucks. Life's unfair. You have to be a girl. So what are we gonna do? How do we fix this? We need to be able to tell people that more often. It's like, too bad. That's not what life wanted from you. Life's given you something else.
Yeah. Yeah. There's this I don't remember who said it, but there's a quote that says, you know, anytime you fight against reality, you lose.
Mm.
And maybe that's ringing true finally now. Because it is. You got to accept, you know, the saying "it is what it is" pretty powerful, even though it's said a lot. Like, because it is. This is exactly what it is. And there's tons of stuff that we have in our power, in our control to do something about it. And that's a cool sort of thing that we need to be teaching anyone is that the sense of agency, the sense of choice is extremely, extremely powerful. And once we start giving that away to our whims and our instant gratification, we feel like we like move ourselves into like become these powerless, hopeless, helpless humans, which then we convince ourselves that we are, which we fucking aren't. We're the opposite of that. And to have someone who is in your life, a therapist, a coach, a mentor, a parent who like expresses that fully to you, like you are a powerful, capable, useful human being who has agency to make choices in your life that can make your life better, even though your life might be shit right now. It doesn't always have to be this way. And in my eyes, that's like what the therapy or the coach or the whatever it is, that's what it's all supposed to be about. And it's very, very, very heartwarming to know that people like you are doing that for people in their lives. And hopefully it trickles down into sort of more people who are doing the same work. At least
You know,
I hope and pray.
what I hope and pray, and I appreciate that, but what I really hope and pray is that there is no more need for therapists as much as there is now. What I
Mm,
actually hope is that instead of a person going to the, because this is what's happening right now, is a friend going to another friend and kind of sharing their feelings, and that friend saying, "Oh, you should see a therapist. I'm seeing one." And that the therapist is supposed to solve all the problems. It's like, no, we should be able to go to our friends and just talk and vent and share feelings with each other and give each other advice. That's what I rather have. You should be able to go to your parents, because so many times now kids are going to their parents and parents are like, "I don't know how to deal with that. Let's schedule an appointment with a therapist." It's like, no, you should be the one to talk to them about this stuff. I don't want to take on the role as a parent for them. I want to help those individuals who are mentally ill, or people who don't have other people in their life and they're just so distraught and so confused and really just need someone to say, "Hey, listen, these are the skills that you need to get you to this goal that you have." Those are the reasons why I want to see people. Other than that, if it's just talking about your feelings or sharing thoughts or talking to me about your week or your day, I pray to God you have friends that have that for you, because I don't want to be that person. I am not here for job security. That is the last thing I want. I want to be completely broke when it comes to this business, because that tells me that we have a healthy world out there. That is
mm,
my hope. That is what I really, really want to push people to do, is be a friend. Truly be a friend to somebody. Help them out. Don't refer them to your therapist. Listen to them.
brilliant. What a great way to wrap us up. But is there anything that I didn't ask you or failed to mention that you want to maybe mention right here before we jet off into the sunset?
No, Erin, you have been amazing. I wish we can clone you times 20. Like, you are a good human being. What you're doing is awesome. I love hearing what you've done with your life, especially since your sister's passing, what's going to happen for your future. Your son is going to have a good dad, and I'm sure a wonderful mom as well. So I'm excited for you guys. And just thank you so much for having me on. It was awesome.
Yeah, well, I echo the sentiment back to you, and I'm happy now that we know each other. So thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you very much for tuning into that episode. And if you enjoyed it, click right here for another full length episode of the podcast. And please don't forget to subscribe. But most importantly, above all else, please take good care of yourselves and others. And I'll see you next time. Lots of love. Cheers.